You're watching my favorite YouTube channel, Chillmonger. Hollywood Reporter had some news. Captain America's box office Brave New World opens to a bullish 100 million in the United States. Get ready for some wordplay, everybody. I'm very glad we're at this stage of the Marvel movies. So the superhero pick landed ahead of expectations despite receiving a B- cinema score, the worst grade bestowed on any title in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The attempt is to discredit the cinema score by telling you it grossed 100 million. That's three digits. If it was just 99 million, that would be something. How did we get to 100 million? By including the fourth day. The first tentpole is reporting a 4-day domestic opening of 100 million. Then it's not a domestic opening. You're adding President's Day to your weekend. And then it says including 88.4 million for the 3 days. That's ahead of expectations. So before we get to be upset, the realization that it didn't actually make 100 million, that's ahead of expectations. The expectations that were set a couple months ago, yeah, sure, it's ahead of that expectation. The expectation that was set when they decided to do this movie in Endgame, where Steve Rogers hands over the shield, they were thinking, well, we can continue making Captain America movies called Captain America. It'll be just like it used to be. That's not what happened, though. So it's a bunch of wordplay, and I, for one, am pleased that this Mantle stuff is coming to a close, and it's going to die out just the way that we see it. It's going to die out. Of course, there's a racial component to it of this movie not performing well, underperforming, critically, what do you call it? Acclaimed. Was not acclaimed, but when it's slandered, when it gets bad scores on Metacritic and it's a B- by the fans, all of that is going to play a factor, but the Mantle stuff is what I hope that they realize. So let's go back to the article. Globally, it's starting off with 192 million after launching. That number sounds really big and sounds really good. I want to remind you guys that there's more weekends and there's a future. And if this movie is perceived to be bad by everyone who voted a B- and voted a low grade, B- is low, by the way. Everyone won't be returning to see this. They can wait to see it on streaming. There won't be a word of mouth generating recommendations. There won't be a long life for this. We are a week away from this. No more mantles. All of that narrative is going to come to a close. Damn, every time we swap a mantle to somebody else, we make less money. That's what's coming. They really thought that, hey, we'll give him the shield. He'll call himself Captain America. This is Captain America 4. It says, nor were some moviegoers impressed. Brave New World received a B- cinema score from audiences, the worst grade given to any MCU title. Not all viewers feel the same, of course. Brave New World boasts a pleasing 79% audience ranking on Rotten Tomatoes. You see that wordplay? It's a pleasing 79%. Let's compare it to some other movies in Marvel where it was like in the 90s. Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man No Way Home, Civil War. There's just movies, Avengers movies, that just do well. Way better than that. So when you compare the 79 to everything else, then it's looking shaky. It's back to basics when it comes to the new movie, which sees Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson take up the mantle of Captain America, the hero previously played by Chris Evans, costing around 180 million to produce before marketing. That's the number they're going with. So if it costs 180 to produce because of marketing, let's round up to 200. If it costs 100 million to market, we're at 300 million. The box office needs to gross something like 600 million to break even, because I said 600 million because the theaters take a cut and the studio gets the other cut. So if it grosses 600 million, this movie is not going to do that. How far away from 600 million will it do is the question. Just because they say things like, this is the second highest grossing Captain America movie. You know, it made more than that Winter Soldier in 2014, which was a long time ago. Inflation comes to mind. Ticket prices are a little bit higher. And the fandom isn't what it was then to what it is now. But it made more than the Winter Soldier. You know that Ant-Man 3 made more in its opening weekend than Ant-Man 2? Yeah. But because Ant-Man 2 was between Infinity War and Endgame, and just the buzz and the love of the franchise was so huge, Ant-Man 2 grossed over 600 million. But Ant-Man 3, even with the bigger domestic opening, it only grossed in the 400 millions. The narratives die next week. The defending, the wordplay, it's all coming to a close. It was directed by Julius Ono. Harrison Ford as a new Thunderbolt Ross, because William Hurt died and his did not transcend any iteration of any of the character in any medium in Marvel's past. So we could kill off William Hurt's. We didn't kill off William Hurt's character. Oh my god. Yeah, just a whole bunch of article. Look, President's Day is the same weekend the first Deadpool opened, as well as Marvel's Black Panther and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which debuted at 120 million over the holiday weekend in 2023. All right, man. If it did worse than Quantumania, which was 120 million over the 4-day weekend, and this is only making 100 million, there's a missing 20 million from last year. Quantumania last year, 2 years ago, did better than this in its opening weekend. And we're getting word from the fans that it's a poor score on all of these websites. And if you watch the movie, I don't care how much you liked it, it was not a 10 out of 10. And you can see what I see when I say maybe there's not going to be a desire to return. And by the way, when it comes to that audience score and racism, who's going to go, I'm really racist, I hate this movie, 0 out of 10? You know, who's going to write that? They're not going to do that. They're just going to say like, oh, just lacking, so I'm going to give it a poor score. We know we have to consider that. So that B minus, maybe it's only a B. Maybe it's not a B minus. Maybe it's a B plus. We got to consider that. But the facts of the matter is that here we are. What's the narrative? Is the narrative black movies don't sell? I hope not. 2018's Black Panther sure sold. Something to be proud about. People like me watched that movie multiple times. Why didn't I go and pay money to see Falcon call himself Captain America? What was missing to make me feel so inspired from this movie, with Sam calling himself Captain America and not calling himself Falcon, and having another character be Falcon, and that IP goes to some other POC, we'll say? I don't know. That's me. I'll check back with you next week on some report. I'll be on Pantheon on Thursday with Marcus and with Darius. And if you like Marcus and Josh, Back of the Bus is happening later on today in a few hours. So check out their live stream where they give W's and L's, where they give behind the cape news on everything Marvel and DC scoops. What about that Superman Shaq commercial with James Gunn? That was a cool NBA inclusion. I like that. The football game last week, they didn't do their commercial. Why would they spend $8 million on something like that? You can use that $8 million and divide it into different communities. Get the basketball community. Yeah, why not? I think it was a better usage of their advertising dollars. $8 million, really? No. What were we just talking about with Falcon? It made $100 million. We're guessing the marketing will be $100 million. Well, why would I cut $8 million of that to go to the Super Bowl? For people who are gonna pretend they're not gonna they're gonna pretend they're not gonna watch the movie because of the skin tone of the lead character calling himself Captain America. But they'll use other reasons for why they're not into it. I was busy that weekend. It was with the family. Oh, well, just didn't have enough time. It was too cold. There was a storm in my neighborhood. They'll try everything. This is kind of depressing today, but the future is bright. They're working on a Spider-Man movie filming next year. That's good. Everyone likes Spider-Man. They're working on the X-Men. We're hearing all these casting rumors. Marvel's working on the 2 Avengers, which are going to start filming soon. What's coming out from them may be like a turn to what we actually care about. The 3rd Black Panther film, well, I guess according to Nate Moore, let's wait for after Sinners, because Ryan's got that movie. All right, yeah. Ryan, I'm sure you're going to be on the internet interview circuit. You're going to be asked a whole lot of questions about what you're doing with Black Panther while you're trying to promote Sinners, and we'll get answers. This Black Panther 3 stuff has not stopped ever since Denzel opened his mouth. There's been a news story every couple weeks. So Ryan Coogler, coming up It's February now. The movie comes out in April. I'm expecting some words coming out from you. And maybe they'll recast T'Challa. Maybe that's what will happen in Secret Wars. T'Challa will be alive. Real T'Challa, not his son getting aged up because he ate the blue heart-shaped herb. Ooh, he's older now. That would be unacceptable. The campaign of recast T'Challa is not requesting for some other character to just be called T'Challa all of a sudden. And we have a substitute stand in. We're trying to elevate the top character with melanin in his skin. That's what we're trying to do. We're not some other person who can call himself that. Recast T'Challa. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you, audience, people who like me enough to be here for 10 minutes on a Sunday. If you want to be with more people for a longer time on this Sunday, go check out Back of the Bus.